欢迎大家收看有备而来，我是主持人刘文。那大家可以看到我们今天的这位来宾是 Uncle Topher， 所以今天呢，我们的节目我会用英文，然后跟他对谈，但我们会这个制作的时候会上这个中文的字幕。So welcome to Kuma's YouTube.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I'm a kind of fan for your videos, so it's great to see you in person.
I'm a big fan of Kuma Academy too, so this is cool.
Yeah, so we're so glad to have Uncle Topher on our show. And so first, I think a lot of our audience probably already seen many of your videos, but just for people who don't know yet, why are you called Uncle Topher? So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, why the name?
Yeah, so I started my YouTube channel here in Taiwan as just a hobby.
Yeah.
And it was really just to show my niece and nephew who live back in the United States that anyone could be a YouTuber.
And you did it.
Yeah. I did not expect my channel to take off, but it did. And so that's why I started with the whole channel, the name Uncle Topher.
So are you niece and nephew watching your channels now?
Not really.
Not really? Yeah.
No, I'd say no. They, you can, if someone watches my first few videos, they'll see that it has a very different tone than the videos I make now. And they were much more silly, and the target audience then was my niece and my nephew.
Right.
We're just kids. And now I talk about much more serious things.
Very hardcore defense stuff, yeah.
Very big
so we'll get into that in a bit. But I do think so as a audience, of your channel, I'm curious, why are you always walking?
Oh, when I'm making my videos, I walk a lot.
Yeah.
Couple of reasons. Big reason is I just love to walk.
Okay.
Yeah, I walk all the time. I try to get in a good 4K every day.
Wow.
Sometimes more. And when I'm walking, it helps me think, helps me process. But another is that it's a visual trick. So it helps with viewer retention because there's constant movement.
Right.
You know, a lot of YouTube needs, or the style is like constant editing.
True. Every
5 seconds, there's a sound effect or something. And nothing against people who do that. I just don't really want to put that much work into editing. And I don't really like watching videos that do that. So I just walk. And I find a nice, constantly moving, pleasant background. It helps.
Yeah. No, I think it's really a nice trick because the scenery changes. And, the audience want to continue to follow what you talk about.
Yeah. And, I live down in Kaohsiung, and there's a lot of great parks and areas down there that are nice and quiet and good for walking.
And I was thinking maybe it's related to what we're talking about later is I think by showing you're walking freely in Taiwan, it's also a safe country, right?
Oh, yeah. I've lived in a couple of different countries, and Taiwan is easily one of the safest. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's a great place.
Yeah. So as we talked about in the beginning, I think Uncle Topher's channel, it was originally about his life in Taiwan. But it really shifted to, I think, your expertise in military and defense. So I think it's interesting because you're from this legendary unit that's called the 101st or Screaming Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Can you introduce us what it is? Yeah.
Sure. So the 101st Airborne, they became legendary mostly in World War II.
Oh, I see.
Currently the smaller units that make up the 101st is a division.
Right.
And some of those smaller units called brigades were in like famous battles in World War II, and they made some TV series and movies and stuff that had featured the 101st. But currently, the 101st, even though it's called the Airborne, they used to be paratroopers.
Right.
They're the world's only air assault division. And air assault means using helicopters to transport troops and equipment. So the 101st has more helicopter support than any other Army unit in the entire world. So it inherently has a bunch of Black Hawk helicopters and other transport helicopters and attack helicopters, and so I've spent a lot of time in the birds. Call it.
In the sky.
In the sky. Oh yeah. So airborne is just paratrooping troops in, right? And usually, first off, that's pretty dangerous. They're going to get a lot of broken ankles and legs and stuff like that. I've done 8 jumps in my career. Wow. Yeah. Oh, I mean.
In active battle? Or?
No. It was all training. It was 5 in jump school and 3 in ranger school. And it's a common number. It's called the 8 jump chump.
So you must do your 8.
Well, yeah. If you go through those schools, you do that. But I wasn't ever part of an actual parachuting unit who do parachute jumps on a very routine basis. Right. So I'm an 8 jump chump. And the difference between doing an air assault with helicopters or doing a parachute in is that the helicopters have a lot more maneuverability on where they can put the troops. They can fly. Yeah, they can fly low to the ground, and they can deliver a lot more equipment than just parachuting in.
Wow. Okay. So as I think many of you heard, I mean, it's a highly risky, and you need a lot of training to be able to carry such a mission.
Yeah, there's air assault school, and I've gone through airborne and air assault school. I would say that airborne school is probably more dangerous. Air assault school, they could probably similar as far as difficulty is.
Right.
But air assault school mostly teaches you how to rappel out of a helicopter because, a helicopter can hover over a building, a rooftop, or a small patch of grass that you just couldn't parachute into. Right. But you can drop troops down the rope.
Yeah. So I think a lot of Taiwanese people, I mean, when they think about the U.S. Army, they do see this like highly professional and scientifically trained army. So, I mean, would you say that's an accurate perception?
Yeah, I would say highly professional, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when I was going through the Army, I thought that this is just how all armies train. That is not the case. No, the U.S. spends so much more money on training than anyone else, actually. And they have developed, as a result, they've developed the best training methods. And a lot of that is just using the scientific method, right? You account for your variables, and then you try new things, and you take data. Yeah. It's common in the Taiwanese Army. It's called AARs, After Action Reviews. U.S. Army does that. And after every sort of training, no matter what it is, even if it's super routine, they sit down and the leadership examines, okay, what did we do? What could we do better? What are some suggestions on how we can improve? That's great. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was on a panel that talks about how the U.S. Army even think about the nutrition that each soldier needs to have, right?
Oh, yeah. It's very results driven. There's a place for tradition, but the U.S. Army is it cares much more about results than it cares about, I guess, like pageantry. Right. I could say, like the showmanship of it.
Right. I mean, what would you say are the kind of best programs or training that you've had in the Army? Yeah. That's sort of, scientifically driven.
Well, let's see. There's entire bases that the U.S. Army has dedicated for fielding force-on-force exercises. And I went through one of those, and it was down in Louisiana. There's another one in California. And they have they hire actors. Wow. They have villages that are built, and it's all for training purposes to go through like a 2-week-long exercise. And so that we did that before we deployed to Iraq, and it was my first time working alongside tanks. Wow. Yeah, and so that was an interesting experience, and the commanders and the leaders of both units were able to all right, it works well here, it doesn't work well there, and sitting down and being honest with the results. And usually in these types of exercise, it's pretty hard because the OP4, the people you're fighting against, they're stationed there, so they know
they know exactly everything.
They know everything. They know all the tricks of the terrain and all that. But it's supposed to be hard. Right. It's supposed to be a very difficult thing. You're supposed to lose basically and learn from your mistakes. And that's one thing I've noticed that the U.S. Army does that other organizations don't, is that it's okay for leaders to make mistakes because that's how you learn.
Yeah. I think that's super important because I think in Taiwan, in the Taiwanese system, so we just had our urban resilience exercise. And I think the state is also changing their, assessment toward like bureaucrats and public servants because everything needs to be graded.
Right.
And
That's
then
how it
when,
is.
when everything needs to be graded, some people afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think from what you're saying, making mistake is part of the process, right?
Yeah, and in some of these training exercises, mistakes that I made ended up, I learned from it. Right. And I didn't make that same mistake when I was in actual combat. So it ended up being a good thing. Now, there's a difference between making a completely stupid mistake. I've seen people do that, and that did harm their career down the road. But I mean, it was a really stupid mistake.
Right.
So it's good that you have it's good that they were put in that training environment to realize that they're not the best fit for that job when they're training than in actual combat. That's not where you want to learn that lesson.
Right. That's why training is so important because you can tell who fits what scenario. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think returning back to your early life in the military, when you joined and then September 11 happened.
Right.
Can you describe like what that does to you, when you were still in school?
Sure, yeah. So September 11th, when the terrorist attack happened to the U.S., I was brand new to the Army.
Yeah.
Like 6 months in.
Very new.
Very new. I just graduated university. I went through the ROTC program. Yeah. And so I was a second lieutenant, and I was going through the engineer officer's basic course. Yeah. And I remember it very clearly, actually, because we just got back from the morning exercises, and we could see it on the news.
Wow.
That it was happening. Oh, my God. And before that, I joined ROTC in the Army mostly as a way to pay for university. Yeah, to pay for my college education. I got a scholarship through that. Because otherwise, I really couldn't afford to go to college. And I didn't want to take out a bunch of loans, so I got the scholarship. And I thought, like, okay, this is a great deal because they pay for my university and I get a great job. Yeah, a guaranteed job. So my plan was just to do 4 years and just kind of skate through. And it didn't work out that way. So after 9/11 happened, I realized that that my chances of actually going to war became like
very high.
Very high. I already knew I was going to the 101st.
Right.
And I knew that 101st was one of the frontline units. So I thought, okay, I have to take training now very seriously. And so I volunteered for Ranger School and earned a slot to go through that and went through that and got basically as best trained as I could.
Yeah.
And ended up actually going to war. Yeah.
Were you afraid of the reality that you have to go to the battlefield?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anyone who says they're not feeling at least some sort of fear is probably not honest with themselves.
Right.
But I was confident in the training that I've gotten, and I was also confident in the other professionals that I was surrounded by. So yeah, there were times, and in combat there were times absolutely where I was very nervous.
Yeah.
But it never impeded my performance.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like because you're well trained and you have good colleagues, so that sort of reduce your anxiety or veering to the battlefield. So coming back to I think the current time, so we talk a lot about the modernizing of different armies, right? And everyone looks to the U.S. But what's your perception of China's POA army? I mean, do you think that they are a truly modernized forces now?
That's a great question, and I would have to say yes and no. I think there are aspects of their military which are probably very modern and probably some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, their cyber side of it and their propaganda side.
Right.
That there are PLA units which are dedicated for cyber attacks.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that they're world class. But other aspects, like their submarine crews or their Air Force, a lot of this is equipment that has been built up very rapidly in the past 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And all the commanders, they didn't really have experience using these types of systems. And I've heard rumors about how they're missing just simple things like maintenance manuals and proper maintenance and training programs on these systems. So now I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me, right? So like every ship has kind of its own handwritten manual made by whoever's in charge of its maintenance program. So there's aspects that I think are not modern, that are not considered modern. I don't think their training is comparable to most Western armies. Most of the it's difficult to tell because they'll release their training videos and you can tell it's obviously meant for like cameras,
Right.
For the
show.
Yeah, for the propaganda, and they're doing things. The individuals are doing things in there which are just absurd.
Right.
Are just not a realistic situation at all. But sometimes you can catch them doing joint training that's filmed. Like they'll do joint training with Thailand.
Oh.
Right, and so if you watch that footage, it's their version of the special forces doing joint training, like close quarters combat with Thai army, and to me, I'm like, oh well, they're actually doing a pretty good job there. Okay, but the Thai army was also trained by the Americans, so
it's an interesting circle.
It's an interesting circle how that goes, right? Yeah. So I think yes and no is my answer there. I think as a whole, I would not consider them completely modernized.
Right.
I think the way they approach training is probably not very realistic.
I mean, so I think based on your experiences in the U.S. Army, you talk a lot about the importance of making mistakes and transparency, right? So, I mean, how would you assess that in a POA Army? Because we know, I mean, it's an authoritarian system. How would that, military culture influence their capability?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different system because the commanders also have the political commissar too, right? So there's this. The unit will have the PLA commander, but then the CCP, and they have equal authority. And so, maybe mistakes can be made and they're just finger pointing and putting the blame on someone else. I imagine that's probably what happens. Yeah. I imagine it's probably kind of real cutthroat trying to survive the system.
Right.
I made a joke once that PLA is the only army in the world where it's more dangerous to be a general than it is to be a low-ranking private.
It's true. I mean, look at how many generals.
That's just it. The generals will just disappear. Like, oh my God. So, I think if a commander makes a mistake that embarrasses their chain of command, then that could be really bad for their career. Might be over, or they might be imprisoned.
Right.
I don't know. But if they make a mistake and it's able to put the blame onto someone else, and maybe if they're the right person's, nephew or niece or something like that, then they might get away with things that would otherwise put people in prison.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a dangerous system.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem like it's merit based.
Right.
I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I think those are great. I think insights into military. So I think just for the Taiwanese audience, because I mean a lot of us are not military trained, right? So I think we can be kind of bombarded by a lot of Chinese propaganda. Oh yeah. And just seeing like how many big objects they have, right? How many weapon systems.
Right.
But I think it's also important to look at their training, their military culture, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And we can get clues here and there on how they approach things. So.
Right. So I think talk a little bit about yourself. You're, now living in Taiwan, in Kaohsiung. So what pushed you for this decision?
Oh, that's a great question. So during the pandemic, I moved back to the U.S.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was teaching online at the time, and I had actually a lot of Chinese students.
Right.
And one of my students lived in Wuhan.
Oh,
right. And so I would teach with him online, and he'd always complain about how he's still in his apartment. I'd be like, well, it's been like 3 months you've been in your apartment. And I'm always kind of a news junkie. I pay attention to the news, and so I knew that there were rumors about a new mysterious disease in Wuhan.
Right.
I thought, all right, this might be more serious than people think it is.
Oh, so it didn't hit the U.S. yet when you moved back?
No, yeah, exactly. So I left Vietnam, and that's where I was living,
right,
and moved back to the U.S. because I thought, okay, if this is serious, I better be around my parents and my family. And so I moved back, and then the pandemic happened, and after that was over, I was looking, okay, where do I want to live again? Because I really love living in East Asia.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just the East Asian culture, and I don't know exactly what it is. It's just very, working in harmony. It's very safe in general. Maybe it's something to do with the Buddhist influence. I don't know. But I really enjoy it. And so I was looking at my different options, and was watching YouTube and came across a video by a YouTuber who's now a friend of mine who lives here in Taiwan named Prazi.
Yeah.
And
Canadian YouTuber?
Yeah. And he used to live in China, and he was comparing China to Taiwan in that video. Before it, I really wasn't considering Taiwan as an option because I only knew Taiwan through the lens of the news.
Yeah.
And how, like, oh, any day now, China's going to invade Taiwan. But then I was like, oh, Taiwan seems like a cool option. And so I started to research more into it. And I, whenever I have a big decision, I build a spreadsheet. And so I added Taiwan to my spreadsheet.
Very scientific laid out.
I love to research things. And so I just had like cost of living and teachers' pay and healthcare and government and all sorts of categories there. And Taiwan scored really high. And so I'm like, all right, let's go to Taiwan.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I did a lot of research also into the actual capabilities of the PLA and Taiwan.
Like whether they could actually invade Taiwan.
Yeah, whether an invasion was actually all that feasible. And it's their issue is that it'd be highly unlikely that it would be a successful invasion. That'd be, that's not saying that they don't have the capability to pull off a blockade, but that's its own set of issues that probably would fail. But just speaking for an invasion, they don't have enough actual means, landing ships, to move enough soldiers onto Taiwan's beaches. Taiwan doesn't have a lot of beaches that are good for landing a ship. And they're very easy to defend. And, even giving the PLA the benefit of the doubt, saying that they could land, it's still maybe like 30,000 soldiers in the first wave. And that's just not enough to go against a military that has 250,000 soldiers, 250,000 soldiers, plus a bunch of reserves. And they've been preparing for an invasion for nearly 80 years. So it just doesn't
add up.
It doesn't add up. The math isn't there. So it frustrates me when I see these like think tank exercises and other YouTubers just assume that the PLA is going to establish a beachhead, which is one of the hardest things to do.
Right. Would you say, like, since you have started sort of observing and sort of trying to understand Taiwan, the type of, whether it's YouTubers or news that kind of exaggerate on PLA's capability on invading Taiwan, do you think that has decreased a bit, or is still very much China can take over Taiwan any day?
I don't think it's decreased. I think it's pretty much stayed the same. Occasionally, I'll come across videos that have the same opinion that I do, and they'll lay out a lot of, like Taiwan's geography and how the Taiwan Strait only has basically like 2 months out of the year where the seas are calm enough to even attempt an invasion and stuff like that. But for every one video of that I see, there's maybe 10 that are sensationalizing the idea that the PLA just could walk in, and that's just not the case.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the Johnny Harris video?
Oh yeah.
And then you did a reaction, right?
Yeah, I did.
Taiwan is safer than you think.
Yeah. Johnny Harris is a fantastic YouTuber. His storytelling skills and editing skills will always be a million times better than mine. But if you look through the comments of Johnny Harris's videos, no matter what the topic is, there's a common theme of where people who have put in serious research into that topic will say, hey, you forgot to mention this, and this. And so in that particular video that he made a lot of claims that just were absurd. And I think if he researched them more, he probably wouldn't have made that claim.
Okay.
Like he talked about how China has the capability to just bring down satellites in that video, which, although it is true that China has brought down 2 satellites that I'm aware of, that is absurd to think that they could cause a satellite blackout over Taiwan. I mean, there's so many different factors to put into play there. And so anyone who's spent a little bit of time looking at, are we talking geosynchronous satellites or all the U.S. Satellites that are up there? Are you serious? You think the U.S. wouldn't notice that all their satellites are starting to go down? You know, how much time would that take? You know, that type of stuff. And so it was pretty easy for me to look at everything he said in that video and pick it apart.
Yeah.
Because again, he's doing it for views. He's doing it for clicks. You know, he's. I don't want to say he's part of the problem because he's educating people about Taiwan, but he also was speaking from a place of authority when he was clearly misinformed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think this is what I think what we are doing. We also need to find a balance of how much we talk about the threat and how much we talk about Taiwan's own capability of defense. Because if you only talk about the pressing and the kind of really urgency of the threat, and you don't talk about, that we have some chance of defending ourselves, then I do think it can turn into kind of surrenderism, right? Fatalism.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. So the threat's legit.
Yeah.
The threat is there. Let's not mince words on that. That the PLA absolutely
wants to do it.
Yeah. If they could have invaded Taiwan, they would have. So the next best thing and the much, much, much easier thing is to bully Taiwan to the point where Taiwan votes wrong, uses democracy against itself. And that's how you defeat a democracy or any society that has free speech.
Right.
You use those tools against the society. So they're able to spread their propaganda throughout Taiwan very easily while trying to do that through the Great Wall of China, the Great Firewall of China. It's much harder.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, we've seen China influence elections all over the world. I mean, even in the United States, there was a mayor in California that was recently arrested because she's a CCP spy. So that's the reality of it is threatening Taiwan. Or I should say this. So I think the bigger threat, the more realistic threat, is that bullying Taiwan and scaring the Taiwanese people into voting wrong. That hey, if you keep voting for politicians that the CCP doesn't like, then we are going to attack.
Right.
Well, the reality of them actually successfully attacking and invading Taiwan is actually pretty low. However, if they are able to get pro-CCP or compromised politicians voted in, we'll just see what happened to Hong Kong.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do think this is a really key point, right? So China's really trying to use a lot of propaganda to kind of to, lie to Taiwanese people, right? Like, because we're so strong, you have no chance of winning. So why not just agree on, right, the peace treaty,
right,
or get closer to China, right, and give up your defense because it's useless, right? Don't talk to your allies, right? Don't to
right.
American people.
If China had a really good track record and a lot of good history of making good on its promises and being honest and doing what they said they were going to do, then I would say, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
That's the smarter call. But again, Hong Kong is the perfect example of the whole, one China, two systems.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lie. That doesn't work out. That you will be imprisoned eventually if you do anything that the CCP doesn't like.
Yeah.
And look at all the broken promises with the Belt and Road Initiative and all the broken promises with the World Trade Organization.
Right.
So it's just, at this point in time, you'd have to be fairly foolish to believe that China's being honest.
Right.
And on the flip side, as Taiwan has slowly decoupled from China's economy, look how great that has been for Taiwan's economy. Right? I mean, let's just think about that. Like recently, Taiwan's stock exchange surpassed India for being like the 5th most valuable in the world.
Yeah.
That's incredible. We're talking about an island of 23 million people.
Right.
Stock exchange is the 5th largest by value in the world. That's insane. So, and we're living in a day and age where anybody with spare money can participate in the stock exchange, right? So, capitalism, democracy, clearly the better system. So it just seems obvious to me that Taiwan should not fall for the trick.
Right.
But, what's obvious to me isn't obvious to everyone else.
Yeah. So I think one of the key characteristic of disinformation campaign we see in Taiwan is about what we call U.S. skepticism.
Okay.
And what do you think about that and, and the Taiwanese people's trust in the U.S. support? Because it is up and down, right? And then, unfortunately, it has been, slowly decreasing in the past few years.
Well, our president doesn't help out
exactly.
very much with that. Yeah. Trump, I think, is a very direct correlation to that.
I think so too.
He's done some really awesome things for Taiwan, though. So, like all the modern weapon systems that Taiwan is getting from the U.S., and a lot of the red tape, the bureaucracy in working with U.S. companies, defense companies like Anduril and Shield AI and Ghost Robotics, that is only because of Trump. Trump's the person who signed off on that, either in his first term or in his current term. But Trump also says a lot of things that, you can see the tweet or the interview and you can see the blip in the stock market after he said it. He says a lot of things that I feel are very irresponsible and rude. Now, part of that is why he even got elected. That's part of his charm to a lot of the American voters who are tired of, they see the reality of one thing and their politicians just use these fancy words and they're very eloquent and articulate and they go on, but they don't actually solve the problem. Trump just calls it how he sees it. But yeah, he says things that are rude. Talking about how the Taiwanese semiconductors that Taiwan stole
money,
stole the industry, which isn't true at all. So I don't blame anyone who feels that this isn't, that they can't rely on the U.S. as much if they feel that way. Or maybe they've seen how the U.S. has flipped around with talks with Ukraine, for example, or Israel.
Yeah.
And it goes back and forth, for sure. I think the Taiwanese need to understand that America's economy is much more densely tied to Taiwan than Ukraine or Israel or pretty much almost any other nation. You know, I think there are some out there, Japan, that would give Taiwan a run for its money. But Taiwan's semiconductors are so intensely important for every aspect of American technology. And America being the world leader of emerging technology is what keeps America as a world leader and as an economic powerhouse and as a military powerhouse.
Right.
So it's vital for the U.S. to make sure that Taiwan stays free. You know, there's other geographic reasons and economic reasons, but that alone is so important, so important. So, you know, also I would add that Taiwan is one of the very few bipartisan topics that both the Democrats and the Republicans, they always vote yes when sending military aid to Taiwan. So I think Taiwan needs to look at the broader picture and maybe do what I do. Ignore what Trump says. Just look at what he does.
Yeah, do a deeper research and look at the history.
Yeah. And the broader picture. I mean, the U.S. has not invested billions and billions of dollars into building up Guam and the Philippines just to leave Taiwan hanging in case there's a blockade or an attempted invasion.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we all know that because Taiwan doesn't have official diplomatic ties with the U.S.
Sure.
But we have a lot of cooperation.
Officially unofficial.
Yeah, officially unofficial. So, I mean, this is an interesting space, particularly we talk about military cooperation, because rumors in the street is that the U.S. is actually training Taiwanese soldiers, right? How can you explain that to, I think, just a layperson in Taiwan? How do we watch how the training or the cooperation is actually getting closer? What are the signs?
Oh, okay. Well,
without revealing
let's see.
secrets.
I'm trying to say, what can I say here? Because I do know some things that I probably shouldn't broadcast.
Right.
But there are other aspects that you can look into, like when Taiwan buys a weapon system from the U.S. Part of that package deal is also maintenance and training.
Right.
Well, those trainers come from the U.S. and come to Taiwan. And so training on things from like C-130s and HIMARS and Abrams tanks and all this, there is training from U.S. professionals. And these are the same people that were training the American forces. So Taiwan is getting that direct level of support. And there's also, like, in the big training exercises, for the first time, starting last year, Taiwan started inviting U.S. retired generals and other officers that were coming in. And we've also seen other contractors and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not really a secret, kind of an open secret, I suppose. But the ties are growing stronger every year. And there are Taiwanese units that, well, I'm not even sure if I can say that. So I should
That's okay, yeah. Keep the suspense.
Yeah. It's tighter than people realize.
Right.
I should say that. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah. I mean, the rumors on the ground is like if you go to Neihu area near the AIT, there's a lot of English teachers.
Right.
And when you go to Costco in Neihu, people eating hot dogs.
Sure. Yeah, and we'll see them down in Kaohsiung too.
So, I mean, back to, I think, English teacher. So you are also an English teacher.
Yeah, literally. I was an actual English teacher. I came to Taiwan as a teacher. So how's your teaching going? I actually don't teach very much anymore. I'll do occasionally a presentation for organizations, sometimes the Taiwan's Army. But I have like one student that I will still, we'll have like classes. It's not really classes. We just chat. She's been a student for like six years or so. And her English skill is very high. Right. So I'm pretty much done with teaching. But that's originally my plan when coming to Taiwan was teaching. Yeah, I came on a tourist visa, and found a teaching job within the first week. So it was very, very easy for me.
So can you tell us a bit why you shifted, I think, your video contents toward defense? You're focusing on this?
Yeah, that's what the audience wanted.
Interesting.
Yeah, I got plenty of comments my YouTube, I started it just talking mostly, to show my nephew and my niece that, hey, anyone can do this. And this is what it's like to be, just a foreigner in another country. I wasn't even sure if I was going to stay in Taiwan at that point, honestly. And it got a lot more views than I expected. Of course, I kind of set it up so that if Taiwanese wanted to pay attention, it could, because I put in the effort to do subtitles. Oh, those subtitles are so badly translated too. I was so bad at translating them.
That's okay.
And but you can see that they're not very serious. They're kind of silly. And then just because it started to gain traction, my first two videos, I realized that at the time, the way to actually make money on YouTube, to monetize, you needed to get so many subscribers and that kind of stuff. And I was very close to it. So my third video, I was like, all right, I'll just make kind of a clickbait title. And I did, and it took off. But in that, I discussed why I chose to come to Taiwan.
Right.
And I mentioned that I did my research about the PLA and that I've been in an invasion. I was in the first wave of soldiers into Iraq. Wow. So I saw the preparation time
for that,
for actually invading a country. And the idea, there was someone who wrote a book recently at that time, and there was another idea thinking that that the PLA could invade within a week. I was like, no way. That's impossible. No army can do that in a week. You'd see too much movement, troop movement, and so I kind of addressed the sensationalism in that video, and almost all the comments were, tell us more about that, talk more about that, talk more about that.
Are they Taiwanese or American?
Yeah.
Taiwanese
No, almost
viewers?
all of my audience is Taiwanese.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's like 85% Taiwanese.
Oh, that's
maybe
great.
about 5% from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just split up from around the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I quickly learned that, all right, well, this is where this is what people want to hear. And it's fine with me because I like paying attention to geopolitics in the news. So, I mean, if people are willing to listen to my opinion, then that's awesome to me. That's great. So that's really the way I did that. And my family actually weren't really watching my videos. That I had like tens of thousands of views from Taiwanese
even
people.
Know you're a famous person in Taiwan?
Well, I told them, like, hey, I sent a video. You guys should watch it. You guys should watch it. And I literally had thousands and thousands of views from Taiwanese people before my first family member watched a single one of my videos. I thought, oh, okay, well, I know who the target audience really is now. Okay. I mean, we still talk on FaceTime and stuff, so it's not like we don't talk. But my mom is a fan. Yeah, she'll leave comments.
Oh, that's great. I guess I think my last question for you is, you have talk about defense, you interact with the viewers in Taiwan a lot, and what's your suggestion for Taiwanese to increase our sort of willingness to fight, or our defense resolve? Because we all know that's really key, right?
Yeah.
To signal to our international allies.
Yeah, I think that's real important, signaling the resolve.
Yeah.
Because the U.S., especially under the Trump administration, has made it pretty clear to other allies that they're not willing to fight a fight if the allies aren't willing to participate. I mean, especially with NATO and Europe.
For sure.
And with the Ukraine funding and all that. And even with the Strait of Hormuz. And an issue is that a lot of the NATO allies are actually incapable, that they have grossly underfunded their military and overestimated just how much the U.S. is willing to spend and sacrifice on their behalf. So I think Taiwan is in a unique position where they can learn from that lesson. I think Taiwan has taken a lot of good steps, right? Extending the conscription out to 1 year and modernizing those programs, the training, that they're not just like cleaning floors for 4 months, right? I've heard some pretty bad stories about that. So I think they're definitely moving in a good path. They're buying a lot of the right weapon systems, all of the artillery and the HIMARS, the F-16s. I think these are great. I also think that the tanks are great too, the Abrams tanks. They're partnering with a lot of good companies, Anduril, Shield AI, Ghost Robotics. So these are newer defense companies that have kind of, in the U.S., they've kind of flipped the defense industry on its head to where before they were doing what was called cost plus contracts, where the Air Force would say, hey, we have this idea of a weapon system, who can make it? And then the big five defense contractors would fight for a bid and put it forward. And then they would, as they were developing that weapon system, they would keep adding on, and it would get absurdly expensive. This is one of the reasons the F-35 is insanely expensive. That's a stealth fighter.
Interesting.
But these new companies, like Anduril, they build the system first and say, hey, we have a functional system here. And it's just part of how the contracting works in the U.S. with the military, is that if there's an existing off-the-shelf system, then they have to go that way as opposed to paying someone else to develop it, right? So Anduril used that kind of loophole, contractual loophole, to start winning contract after contract after contract. And they are working, they're one of the U.S. companies that are working with Taiwan and NCSIST, Taiwan's military research and development program. So Taiwan's definitely moving in the right direction. There are some things that I feel they could be doing better. I think that the cut of President Lai's special budget down, if you look at all the systems that were cut, they were systems that were going to be indigenous to Taiwan.
Exactly.
Developing drone systems in Taiwan, which Taiwan would be amazing at manufacturing drone systems. Taiwan is so good at precision manufacturing and robotics, and you build a toy. Well, Ukraine used toys with RPGs to stop the onslaught of the Russian tanks. And so I think that more could be done, especially with that. Like canceling, not really canceling, but impeding the progress of things like the T-Dome. It's so clear that air defense is super important. Every conflict in modern times has shown just how important air defense is. And so Taiwan is capable of doing more. I've been rambling so much. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot the original question. The point.
I think it's exactly so. Defense resolve, right? How can we show that? And I think there's a lot more I think the government can do, right? To get more consensus on the issue you talk about. I think that Taiwanese need to vote smart. Or at least inform their politicians. A lot of people, at least in the U.S., are single issue voters. And I totally understand not liking a political party, but at least telling your representative, like, hey, this is a serious issue. That there's no reason that we're stopping developing air defense in Taiwan by Taiwanese. Why would you stop that? It's going to hit your home too.
Well, and it's an industry that can not only does it basically it puts a lot of jobs into Taiwan. Two, it develops an industry that Taiwan can export all over the world. Okay, everybody wants good air defense. Also, though, it basically guarantees that any sort of invasion scenario just is impossible to pull off. The PLA would need to have air superiority to have any hope of pulling off an invasion. Russia doesn't have air superiority over Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't have much of an air force.
Yeah.
Why? Little man-pad, shoulder-launched Stinger missiles. Taiwan can build those. Taiwan can build better versions of those.
Yeah, I remember when the war happened in Ukraine, a lot of Ukrainians in Taiwan said, protect the sky. Right?
Yeah,
it means how important air defense is.
Yeah. And so I see stuff like that. And, you know, with the advent of drone technology and AI, defending and making really, really cheap weapon systems for defense has gotten a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Just an incredible amount. And so I think Taiwan's really at a point in their history where they can take advantage of that, take advantage of all the awesome skill sets that Taiwan has, and hopefully they never need to use them.
Yeah.
But they can still sell these systems to other countries. Yeah.
Right. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, as any person, right, if you're not, even if you don't have expert knowledge in military like Uncle Topher, but like what he says, right, we can vote right.
Yeah.
We can pay attention to what happens in the world and, right, what's needed and what's Taiwan's key position.
Oh,
right,
sure.
to many countries, definitely the U.S.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of aspects that Kuma Academy is doing that I'm a big fan of, and that is preparation and planning ahead. That, you know, like the risk of a blockade, I think is much more likely than the risk of an invasion. That would be a whole nother podcast probably, though.
You can do one.
Yeah. But still just having enough like water and other supplies just for like, you know, a week or two worth, just to be sure that your family is safe. And having a plan, going through that plan with your family, you know, just being prepared.
Right.
And you know, getting the training that Kuma Academy provides, because even stuff like an earthquake, right? I mean, that's
use it.
Yeah, we know an earthquake's going to hit Taiwan. We know that typhoons are going to hit Taiwan. So first aid is such a good skill to have, and emergency preparedness. It's such a good mindset to have. So hopefully, it's never used in the case of actual armed conflict. But it's way better to be prepared and better safe than sorry.
Right. Yeah. So thank you, Uncle Topher, for coming to Kuma. Subscribe to his channel. So thank you all.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation.
Thanks.